So Kim Kardashian has come out with what could be the most ridiculous plea for stricter gun control laws that I've ever seen. In fact, at some point, she even acknowledges that yes, she says, quote, all of my security team is armed, but ... So it's funny that the elite who push for gun control onto the average everyday citizen are now so aware of the shocking double standard, the blatant double standard of them saying, you can't have guns, but we can, that now they openly admit it in their pleas for gun control that they're allowed to have bodyguards armed and dangerous. Wear orange for National Gun Violence Awareness Day. Kim Kardashian writes, supposedly, it's been 18 years since Columbine. 10 years since Virginia Tech, 4 years since Newtown, and we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of the Orlando nightclub shooting. And almost 20 years, wait, I should be talking in another tone of voice, you know what I'm talking about. Our country has made very little progress in enacting laws that would help protect innocent Americans from people who should not have access to firearms. Right now, there are more guns owned by civilians in this country than in any other country in the world. In February of this year, President Trump actually signed the bill, like, oh my God, revoking a regulation recommended by President Obama that would have added 75,000 names of people with registered mental illness into a national background check database. This is like so crazy. Kim Kardashian continues, I work with an incredible organization, Everytown, whose mission is to stand in opposition of the NRA's vision of more guns for more people. There is such a disconnect between what the country needs to protect our people and the laws that are proposed and enacted. No. You're the disconnect. The only disconnect is you. Okay, not everybody could afford 9-foot-tall bodybuilding bodyguards following you around everywhere, okay? Some people can't afford to pay another human being to protect you everywhere you go. Some people only have the capability to afford the Second Amendment. A firearm which they can use to pull the trigger in self-defense in case they ever get attacked. Links to these incredible shirts are below because in an age where Kim fucking Kardashian is trying to advocate for robbing you of your open access to firearms, you need to use that First Amendment to loudly and proudly proclaim your support for the Second Amendment. Link to the shirts are below and above, but indeed, not everybody could afford. So you want to talk about a disconnect. The disconnect is between you ridiculous elitists and the average person who would prefer a right to self-defense in case anything happens, because not everybody can afford private fucking bodyguards. She continues, we have imposed restrictions on a number of constitutional rights for the sake of protecting people in this country, including freedom of speech and the right to exercise religious beliefs. So why is the Second Amendment any different? Wait, what did she just say? We have imposed restrictions on a number of constitutional rights for the sake of protecting people in this country, including freedom of speech and the right to exercise religious beliefs. So why is the Second Amendment any different? Is it more important to protect the Second Amendment than to protect our own children? Maybe you think so, maybe you don't. But it's important for us to at least continue to discuss and debate this openly and to bring attention to the reality of gun violence and gun control. That's funny. Notice this. She says, is it more important to protect the Second Amendment than to protect our children? Hey, dumbass. How many people protect their children by owning firearms to fend off robbers, rapists, murderers, etc.? Okay? If an armed intruder comes into your home, you're going to want a firearm to defend yourself. People say, oh, yeah, but you're just as likely to get killed because the kid might get access to the firearm. That's called responsible gun ownership. You put it into a safe, you put it out of the child's reach, and you're responsible. Children can fall into a pool. I don't see gun control advocates calling to ban fucking pools. Gun control advocates aren't concerned about little kids dying in violence. Let me just tell you that right now. The average liberal gun control advocate, he's not worried about violence. That's not it. One liberal gun control advocate on Twitter actually openly admitted to me that the reason he wants guns banned is because he is mentally ill, he's suicidal, and because suicide is a, quote, impulse decision, he told me this, he doesn't want easy access to guns because he's afraid that because of his mental illness, he might go out, grab a gun, and blow his brains out. Guess what, you mentally ill, admittedly mentally ill liberal who advocates for gun control? Your mental health issues are not my problem. Just because you want to blow your brains out doesn't mean that we should all have our access to guns restricted. Period. End of story. So she goes, isn't it more important to protect the Second Amendment than protect our own children? Well, by that logic, why don't you disarm your bodyguards? Isn't it more important that our children don't have, that our children are protected than you, Kim Kardashian, walking around with your armed bodyguards? Isn't that more important? What's more important, Kim? Your armed bodyguards protecting you, a useless diva? Or our children? I bet Hillary Clinton penned this fucking thing. This is the great part where she mentions all of my security team is armed. I'm not against guns. And I'm not against people owning guns. After what happened to me in Paris because she got robbed or something, I know how important it is to be safe and to have armed security. Yeah, no shit. All of my security team is armed, but they also support stricter gun control laws and believe that we should restrict access to firearms for people with mental health illness. First of all, do you really think that her security team all have these enlightened opinions? She just said, all of my security team is armed, but they also support stricter gun control laws. I wonder if the reason they support stricter gun control laws is because they don't want potential people trying to come up to you and shoot you. You know, like when you're being mobbed by 800 fans just trying to go to fucking Starbucks? And your security team is freaking out because there's God forbid, there's all these uncontrollable plebs, all these uncontrollable peasant citizens just swarming you. One of them might have a gun. Maybe that's the reason your fucking locked and loaded security team doesn't want the average person to have easy access to guns. Maybe that's why they could advocate for such a double standard. But who here really believes that her security team all unanimously supports stricter gun control? Insane. So she says she wants to restrict access just to people who have mental health issues, anyone who's been previously convicted of a misdemeanor, those who have been subject to a temporary restraining order, and those at a higher risk of committing gun violence. Really? Well, here's the problem, the fundamental flaw with the entire gun control argument. The fundamental flaw with every so-called liberal, which they're really just establishment shills, pretending that they care about you. The flaw with this argument is that there are a gazillion different ways to kill innocent people, and if you're crazy enough to want to do it, you'll find a way to do it, with or without guns. Let's not mention the fact that nowadays you can 3D print firearms. That's right, what are you going to do? Call for a ban on 3D printers? That alone invalidates the entire gun control argument. In the future, everybody's going to have a 3D printer in their home, and 3D printers will easily and effortlessly be able to 3D print a gun. How are you going to regulate that? How are you going to ban 3D printers? You won't be able to. So gun control doesn't work. But putting that aside, let's talk about the many other creative ways there are to kill innocent people. Just the past few terror attacks have given us all the proof we need that a ban on guns ain't gonna do shit. And this is where I get to my deeper point. My deeper point about why liberals want to ban the Second Amendment. It's not about minimizing violence. It's not about safety. It's about none of that. The reason liberals want to ban guns is because they hate individualism and they hate the idea of people passionately taking their lives into their own hands. Whether that means working hard, starting a business, getting themselves into shape, becoming better, healthier people, or it means buying a firearm. The fundamental idea of individualism and individuals taking responsibility for their lives, they hate that. And we'll get to that in a moment. The recent terror attack in Manchester bombing killed a bunch of little girls, injured many more. It was an improvised explosive device. The London Bridge attack used fucking knives and a van, plowed people over. I think it was in Paris, there was a massive truck drove through a giant crowd of people, killed what, 40 people, 80 people, I don't remember. There are poison, you can poison people, run people over, and some liberals were even calling for a ban on cars after the Sweden attack. There's another one, the Sweden attack. Truck plowed through, ripped a poor little girl, 11-year-old girl in half. Literally in half. There's a million ways to kill innocent people, and banning guns ain't gonna solve it. So then you scratch your head and you wonder, but wait a minute. If there's no rational reason to target guns in the name of preventing violence, then why do liberals want to ban guns? You scratch your head and you wonder. Well, yes, there are some naive liberals who openly admitted to me that he's mentally ill and afraid that an access to guns will cause him to shoot his brains out. There's definitely a big part of that. Liberals are mentally ill on average, and they project onto firearms what their own unstable minds would do if they have access to that. They'd probably blow their brains out, or they go around killing everybody else. The liberals are very scared of guns for that reason. If you didn't know, liberalism is actually just a form of collective suicide on delay. That's why everything about liberalism is about suicide and destruction of the life force. We're not going to get into that now. And I said it, and I own it, and get used to it. But I think for the elites, the average dumb liberal doesn't know what the fuck, they don't know what's going on. But for the elite liberals, like the Kardashians, well, she probably just got paid off, she don't care. But like the Democrat Party elite establishment, the reason they push gun control, even though you can be killed a million other ways and banning guns won't solve shit when you can 3D print them now, or make an IED, fucking pressure cooker bomb. The reason is they hate individuals standing up and taking charge of their lives. They don't hate the gun. They hate what the gun represents. Let me say that again. They don't hate this gun. They hate what it represents. They don't hate the Second Amendment. They hate what the Second Amendment represents. They hate that it represents that you care enough about your life to not be a passive cog waiting around helplessly for the government, literally, calling 911 to come save you. There's no rational explanation for a ban on guns. It doesn't make any rational sense. So what's the true motive? What I've come to conclude is that what they really hate fundamentally, the establishment, they hate you rising up and taking the right to self-defense into your own hands. They don't like the idea that you create your own fucking safe spaces. Your own fucking safe spaces. Let's go ahead and finish off this. Kim Kardashian, right? I hope that we don't become numbed by the increasing number of gun-related tragedies we see on the news. It's so crazy. We all have a voice and a right to feel safe, to be protected from people who are a threat, particularly when handed a deadly weapon. That's why I have armed bodyguards surrounding me 24/7, because I'm afraid of a threat. But on average, the average person should not have a gun. That's basically what I'm saying. I want to help build a safer future for my children, and I believe together we can find ways to do that while still protecting the rights of the American people. Love, Kim. What else do I have to say? What else do I need to say? Does she really care about firearms? Does she really care about people's right to guns? She just wants to diminish access to guns for a certain group of mentally ill people. Because the truth is, banning firearms is a non-solution. You could run people over, pressure cooker bomb them, and find a million other ways to do it. It ain't gonna make people that much safer. So stop being retarded, Kim Kardashian. Thank you guys for watching. And as always, pick up your Second Amendment triggered t-shirts. Safe spaces since 1791. Some people are triggered by your right to pull the trigger in self-defense. But the Second Amendment is the ultimate safe space. Thank you guys for watching. Shirt purchases are always a great way to circumvent the YouTube ad-apocalypse, which is nothing more than an establishment attempt to silence alternative media voices. So it's come to the point where we need to shift into a fan funding paradigm. The age of sitting around waiting for ads to pop up from anonymous corporate sponsors, that age is over. Corporations are not interested in politically incorrect views. So if you care about politically incorrect views, i.e. the truth, the fans need to start funding the media that they love to watch and agree with. Shirt purchase is a great way to do that. Thank you guys for watching. Links are below and above. Take care.
Fight back against YouTube censorship by supporting me on Patreon. You'll also get access to exclusive, never-before-seen videos and other perks like monthly Google Hangouts with me, free books and t-shirts, and more.